There is one habit that separates riders with 150,000-mile motorcycles from riders replacing engines at 25,000 miles. It isn't expensive, it doesn't require mechanical expertise, it doesn't even require tools beyond what came with your bike. It takes 10 minutes every 2 weeks. That's it. And here's what makes this habit so powerful. It doesn't just maintain your motorcycle, it lets your motorcycle talk to you. It reveals problems while they're still small, still cheap, and still completely fixable. By the time most riders discover a developing problem, it's already become an expensive one. This habit catches it before that happens, every single time. Stay with us, because the check we cover at the 4-minute mark has saved more engines from complete destruction than any other single maintenance action on this entire list, and most riders never do it. Let's get into it. Why 10 minutes every 2 weeks changes everything. Before we get into the specific checks, you need to understand why this interval works when others don't. Checking before every ride sounds responsible, but it rarely happens consistently. Life gets in the way. You're running late. It's cold. You'll do it tomorrow. The habit collapses within weeks. Checking monthly feels manageable, but it's too infrequent. A slow oil leak, a chain developing tight spots, a tire losing pressure gradually, all of these can reach dangerous levels within 4 weeks of daily riding. By the time your monthly check arrives, the damage is already done. 2 weeks is the sweet spot, frequent enough to catch problems while they're still developing, infrequent enough that the habit actually survives real life. Riders who adopt this interval consistently report the same outcome. They almost never face unexpected mechanical failures because every problem announces itself during a routine check long before it becomes a breakdown. 10 minutes, 14 days, 5 checks. Here's exactly what they are. Check 1. Engine oil, level, and condition. This is where you start every single time, before anything else. Find your oil sight class or dipstick, depending on your motorcycle. You're looking for 2 things simultaneously, and both of them matter equally. First, level. Your oil should sit between the minimum and maximum markers. Simple. But here's what most riders miss. If your oil level is dropping noticeably between 2-week checks, that information is more valuable than the top-up itself. An engine consuming oil faster than normal is telling you something is changing internally. A worn piston rings allowing oil passed into the combustion chamber, a valve seal beginning to fail, or an external leak developing somewhere on the engine casing. Top up the level absolutely, but investigate the reason. The level drop is a symptom. Find the cause. 2 minutes. Dipstick out, check level, look at color. This single check justifies the entire habit on its own. Check 2. Chain, tension, lubrication, and condition. Get behind the bike and push up on the lower chain run with 2 fingers at the midpoint between the sprockets. Your owner's manual specifies the correct free play. For most motorcycles, it's between 20 and 30 millimeters. Too loose and the chain slaps and stretches. Too tight and it loads your wheel bearing and gearbox output shaft with every single rotation. Now look at the chain's surface. You're looking for 3 things. Is it dry? Is it coated in a thick black paste of old lubricant mixed with road grit? Are there any stiff links that don't flex smoothly as you rotate the rear wheel slowly by hand? A properly maintained chain is clean, lightly coated with fresh lubricant, and every link moves freely. Anything different needs attention before the next ride, because a neglected chain doesn't just wear itself out, it transfers its wear to the sprockets, the wheel bearing, and the gearbox output bearing simultaneously. The chain is the cheapest component in that entire system. Maintaining it protects everything connected to it.
Check 3. Tire pressure and visual condition. Under-inflated tires are one of the most common and most underestimated sources of danger on a motorcycle. Unlike a car, where a 20% pressure loss is barely noticeable in handling, a motorcycle tire at 20% below correct pressure handles measurably differently, particularly in corners and emergency maneuvers where your life depends on predictable tire behavior. Use a proper gauge, not your thumb, not your instinct, a gauge. Check both front and rear against the pressures in your owner's manual and adjust accordingly. While the gauge is in your hand, walk slowly around both tires and inspect the contact surface and sidewalls. You're looking for embedded objects. Nails and screws often lodge in tire rubber without causing immediate deflation. They work their way deeper with every kilometer until the tire fails. Finding one during this check means a controlled repair at your convenience. Finding one when the tire suddenly deflates at highway speed is a completely different situation. Look for cracking in the sidewalls, particularly on a bike that sits outdoors or that doesn't get ridden frequently. Tire rubber degrades from UV exposure and ozone over time, regardless of tread depth. A tire with good tread but cracked sidewalls is a tire that can fail without warning. Check 4. Brake fluid level and feel. Here's the check that has saved more engines from complete destruction than anything else on this list. And before you point out that brake fluid doesn't directly affect your engine, stay with me, because the connection is real and it matters. Look at your front brake reservoir. The level should sit between the minimum and maximum marks. Now here's what most riders don't know. Brake fluid level drops naturally as brake pads wear, because the caliper pistons extend further as pad material reduces, displacing fluid from the reservoir. A fluid level sitting near minimum is your hydraulic system telling you your brake pads are approaching the end of their service life. Riders who check brake fluid regularly catch worn brake pads before they wear through completely. Brake pads that wear completely through don't just fail to stop the bike. The metal backing plate contacts the rotor directly, destroying it within a single ride. A rotor replacement costs many times more than a brake pad replacement. Catching low fluid catches worn pads. Catching worn pads saves the rotor. That chain of prevention is exactly why this check matters beyond just the fluid itself. Also, squeeze the front brake lever slowly and hold it under pressure for 5 seconds. A lever that slowly travels toward the grip while held indicates a hydraulic leak somewhere in the system. Your brake system should hold pressure indefinitely. Any movement means fluid is escaping, and a brake system losing fluid is a brake system losing stopping power exactly when you need it most. The last check takes 30 seconds and requires nothing except crouching down and looking. Look at the ground underneath your engine and gearbox. Fresh oil spots mean an active leak. Look at the engine casing itself for dried oil staining, dark streaks or residue that indicates a leak has been happening for some time and simply hadn't reached the ground in visible quantity yet. On liquid-cooled motorcycles, also look for coolant residue, a slightly sticky deposit that often has a faint sweet smell and leaves a pale stain on engine surfaces. A coolant leak caught here means a gasket or hose replacement. A coolant leak that goes unnoticed until the system runs dry means an overheating seizure that destroys the engine completely. Every leak starts small. Every leak gives you time, but only if you're looking at the right interval to catch it while it's still small. The complete 10-minute routine. Oil level and condition, 2 minutes. Chain tension and lubrication, 2 minutes. Tire pressure and visual inspection, 2 minutes. Brake fluid level and lever feel, 2 minutes. Underneath the engine for leaks, 30 seconds. Total time including walking around the bike, 10 minutes. Every 14 days. Here's the truth about motorcycles with 150,000 miles on them. They aren't special machines and they aren't maintained by professional mechanics every week. They're ridden by people who pay attention consistently, who catch the small thing before it becomes the expensive thing, who understand that their motorcycle is constantly communicating through oil color, through chain condition, through fluid levels, through what appears on the ground underneath it. The 10 minutes you spend every 2 weeks isn't maintenance, it's a conversation. And the riders who have that conversation consistently are the ones still riding the same engine 50,000 miles from now while everyone else is shopping for a replacement. Start this weekend, not next month, this weekend, because the check you do in your driveway Saturday morning might be the one that catches exactly what would have cost you an engine rebuild 2 months from now. Subscribe for more real motorcycle knowledge. See you in the next one.